everyone, this is Willa Latham and I love antique porcelain, and today I'm going to tell you about how to identify teacups. A lot of you ask me and send me pictures of your teacups, and you ask me, how on earth do you know what this is, who made this and when? A lot of you also write to me and say, can you give me a picture of the mark on this teacup? Now, a lot of the teacups I sell don't have marks. It's not clear who made them. But with experience and, of course, studying up, you can't see it from here, but I have a whole line of books there. I do a lot of reading. You can actually identify teacups because each maker had its own very specific handle, teacup handle, and that's how you often identify them. Of course, there are other ways to identify them. It's the quality of the porcelain, the shape, the quality of the glazing, whether it's crazed or not, the style and quality of painting, the color shade of the gilt. There's lots of things that, with experience you start to recognize things. But the teacup handle is quite a good way to see when something was made and who by. Now, I'll first show you one that I like very much. I got it as a gift from a dear friend. It is one that was made in China, and then the blank, undecorated, was shipped to Britain, and then it was decorated in London, and they took Chinese decoration and copied it and put it on there. Sweet, huh? And it's typical Chinese porcelain. It's very grey. It's not bone china. Now, at some point, British potters started to make porcelain, and this is a very early Worcester one. And you see a very simple handle here. They didn't make a big deal about their handles. I guess at that point, they were just glad to be able to make this at all. Things were very simple. It was really at the beginning of making porcelain, so it was really simple. And then around the year 1800, you got the very famous butte shape, you call it. Where is it? Here is a very nice one. It's made by Ridgway, and that was very popular until about 1812, and it's a really simple one. And then you got the London shape, and now this is really embarrassing, but I forgot to put one with a London shape here. That's amazing. Anyway, I'll have to show you that another time. Actually, I have one sitting here in a box next to me, but it's all packed up to go to a customer. But that was a square shape, and that was very popular. Now, different makers also made different varieties of these shapes, and you can often recognize them. For instance, Derby had this really nice pinched handle. You call it pinched because it would take a pinch to finish it. It's cool, isn't it? It's typically Derby. And then Worcester had its own variety of that. See? That's a nice one too, and it's also pinched, but it's different. That's typically Worcester. And let me see something else from that period. No, we're going a little bit later now. Then Spode made the very famous bell shape with this nice little ring handle. And this is there's something new about this handle, because most of these handles, they were just sort of very practical. They were what they were, and there was nothing special about them. But then at some point, I guess teacups became very, very popular, both for men and women. People with small hands, people with big hands. Also, the amount of tea or coffee that people drank started to be more because the price of tea and coffee went down, so people could afford more tea and coffee. So you can see these really old cups, they don't hold very much because it was so expensive. So people drank very small cups of tea. So it's not very difficult to balance this. It doesn't weigh anything. Now, once you start drinking more, it gets heavier, and it's very important to balance it well. And this is why a lot of people nowadays say, oh, you won't see me drinking from a cup like that, because it's just, people think you have to drink it like that. It's not true, because they had a good solution. They made a very clear finger rest here, and then you can rest it on your finger and you can balance it like that. It's very clever, right? This is a spode from the early 19th century. And then you can see a little bit later, Henry Daniel made a variety of that. But actually that's not a very practical one. That's one that it's a bit like that. It's not very practical. But people got very good at making these practical shapes. I want to show you this one. It's the famous Pembroke shape from Colport. And that's a really nice one. You can really stick your finger in here and it has, again, this nice finger rest. So you can hold it well. And I think it's beautiful, right? It's like wrought iron. It's very nice. And then Henry Daniel copied that, of course, and he had his own variety. Very similar. And again, stick one finger here, stick one finger there, and you're okay. Now there's another way to make sure that a cup doesn't slip out of your fingers, and that is the famous thumb rest, like on this famous Adelaide cup from Colport, very famous shape. It's a little thing on top that your thumb can rest on, and even if your fingers are a bit greasy, for instance, because you've been eating cake, it happens, you know, some people eat cake with their tea. You can hold your teacup safely because there is the thumb rest to stop it from slipping. I've forgotten the important one, the Old English flute one. I really like this one. They're heavy, big cups with big handles. They're sort of masculine. I like them. And let's see, what else do we have that I haven't shown? Because we're starting to go into the mid-19th century. I want to show you one more Henry Daniel. I think Henry Daniel was the real genius of making teacups that were good both for small hands and big hands. I have big hands, as you see, and this, I think, is the best. It's Henry Daniel's shell shape, and it's just so comfortable. It has a finger rest. You can stick a finger inside and you can put your thumb on the thumb rest. And it will never slip out of your hands. It's so comfortable. And as you can see, I've just been drinking from this one. This is a little cup I don't sell. I use it almost every day. I love it. So let me see. Then another very famous one is the Etruscan shape, which looks nice, but actually it's really unpractical. It doesn't hold very well. This is a Daniel cup. Colport made a lot of this shape as well. But to be honest, I don't think it's the best shape. It's a beautiful cup because it's a beautiful foundation for the decorations, but it's not very practical. And then we go into Victorian times. That's when people started to make all sorts of different things. For instance, there's this wonderful Colport cup. Well, of course, it's got wonderful birds on it, but look at this handle. Isn't that beautiful? And it's all gilded. It's really nice. And again, you can stick your finger underneath. It's pretty good. I have to say, these Victorian cups are not as good as the Regency cups from the early 19th century. They're the best. And then I have to show you the Wildman cups. Wildman was a big producer of teacups in the late 19th century. He was the first one who really mass-produced with nice designs, all printed. And he had several shapes that are now still very famous. One of the very famous ones is this one. Isn't that sweet? That's very nice. It's the snowdrop style. And that's called that way because if you turn the cup upside down, it's like a snowdrop flower. So it's not so easy to hold. Then the very famous daisy shape, which is called daisy again because of the shape of the cup. And it's different. And then there is this one, which is really interesting. It's called the Albert shape, called after Victoria, Queen Victoria's husband, Prince Albert. I like this one. So you've seen a lot of shapes here. Oh, there's one more. Because some potters really made their own thing. Now this is a beautiful Balik cup. And as you can see, it's got these cute little feet with shells. And it's got, I guess it's a piece of coral. Put it like that so you can see it better. It's a really nice one, and it's got a thumb rest. It's actually a very practical cup as well. Isn't that nice? So I haven't shown you all of them. There's too many to show, but you have a bit of a sense how you can recognize a lot by the handle, the cup handle. And there's a lot more, and also I keep learning every single day. So I hope you enjoy that. You can find me at gentlerattleofchina.com. I post every day on Instagram with pictures and interesting stories. Find me on Instagram or Facebook, or sign up at YouTube. Click subscribe if you watch this on YouTube. I put a video up every week. Thank you very much. See you next week.